Test, test. Check, check. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Hi, Alexa. Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Clap 3 times if you can hear me. That's great. Thanks, guys. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Adam Porter. I'm one of the co-founders here at Pursuit Coworking here in Harrisburg. Thanks for making the trip to all those from the rest of Central PA. Let's get into it. Welcome. Thank you for coming. A few housekeeping items. Firstly, please eat. We have lots and lots of delicious food from the Englewood and Hershey. Those chicken and waffle cones are delicious and so adorable. You won't want to miss them. Bathrooms are all the way back and to the left. Nobody needs a coat rack today because wow. Yeah. Housekeeping out of the way. So Keystone Merge is a regional gathering of thinkers and doers. We meet the first Thursday of every month, almost every month, rotating between York, Harrisburg, and Lancaster at our respective co-working spaces, us, the Grotto, and the Candy Factory. A big thank you to our community partners who are on the back of your program. If you didn't get a program, they are over on the front desk. The funding for this lovely program comes from the Next Gen Partnership Innovation Committee. They are a group of volunteers developing entrepreneurial ecosystems here in South Central PA. We're here to learn about great things great people are creating in our communities and here to provide real-time support to entrepreneurs, not just, oh yeah, I'll think about it, but real-time in the moment. We get to dig in and solve problems together. You'll be hearing from one entrepreneur tonight. Aaliyah Jones from Armina Woo had to duck out for personal reasons, but you should absolutely check out her amazing fashions at Armina Woo. That's ARMINOWU.com. You can buy a beautiful bag, and she will be back at a future merge. So Brianna will be speaking for 10 minutes, and then we'll have 10 minutes to chat a little bit. And let's be real, we have a little bit more time today, so maybe a couple more than 10 minutes. And we can offer help to any challenges she has identified. So take a moment to talk about Pursuit. Oh, great. Quick commercial. So you are at Pursuit Coworking. We are Harrisburg's co-working space. Like many co-working spaces, we offer all-inclusive, plug-and-play monthly memberships for, you guessed it, workspace. So members have access to our whole network of spaces, including meeting rooms, utilities, Wi-Fi, all that jazz is included. But most importantly, the people on that wall over there, go and check out some of our members' lovely, beautiful faces. That's why people come here, right? Working from home is incredibly lonely right now. Not to end on a serious note, but we are in a loneliness epidemic, and co-working is the cure, full stop. So if you need space to just come see other humans, like not your cat or the pile of dishes in the sink, co-working is a great cure for what ails you. So come see me or Precious, our lovely community manager, who is right back there with popcorn. Yeah. Total shout out, thank you. She really runs the place, I just pay the rent. So thank you for making this happen, Precious. So Brianna Embry Banks will be presenting about her company, Owning My Blackness Consulting.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. With a little bit of extra time here, I thought I'd open up with a short story, if that's okay with everyone, that I think is really going to highlight kind of the background and why I do what I do. So my story is actually started back that first semester on my college campus from my undergrad, right after COVID. So this is our first semester back on campus in person. At the time, I worked as a residence assistant. For those who are unfamiliar, they're kind of the people who take care of the dorms, student workers, and they also plan fun events for our students on campus. Part of my job of planning that fun events was to also address hot topics within our student community. And of course, a big one at that time was Black Lives Matter. The students kind of felt as if the school wasn't doing enough, and me as a student worker was like, oh, I can address that. So I had the idea to do an in-person event that would address the controversies around Black Lives Matter, the history behind it, where each side of the argument came from, and really give a safe space for everyone to learn about it. Now, the problem was, we're also dealing with COVID at the time. So when I was at RA, they sat us all down and said, no in-person events this semester. I was like, I hear you, but hear me. So I sat down with my supervisor at the time, and I was kind of just pitched her my idea. I was like, I know what you said, but really hear out my idea. I feel like this is a really good thing. She was like, Brianna, you're right. This is a great idea. This is exactly what we need. I don't have the clearances to approve you for this. Like, this is above my head. Because you got to think, okay, COVID was worldwide at this point. This is way above my little residence life program. So I was like, that's great. I'll find someone who can. So I ended up starting with trying to reserve a field, kind of abide by state and school policies to have an outside event. The problems with reserving the field is you can't just walk in someone's office at this time because it's COVID. You need to go through a bunch of emails. So in the process of me emailing, one person said, oop, I don't address that, go to this person. So I emailed that person. That person said, oh, not me, go to this person. And I eventually ended up in a loop where a bunch of people were just sending me back and forth, back and forth. Don't recommend this. This is not the smartest idea, but I was just that outgoing child where I threw everybody in a single email chain and said, listen, either someone tell me what I'm going to do or I'm going to do it without you. So I ended up getting an email the very next day from our diversity office, from the director of diversity, and she sat me down and she said, Brianna, why do you want to do a protest? And I said, what protest? I said, nothing about a protest. I want to do the RA event that I get paid to do. And she said, well, Brianna, the reason you can't get this event off its feet is because there's a rumor within the staff that you want to do a protest. And they sent me here to shut you down. Luckily for me, she did not shut me down. She ended up connecting me to the correct people to navigate through the system. And I ended up hosting the only in-person event that semester, Blackout for Black Lives, that taught about the Black Lives Matter movement, just I addressed through photography, history, personal stories, music, and we later added a step show to it. So I believe that kind of highlights a little bit we're going to get into today. So as I said before, this is Owning My Blackness. If we could go back one slide, I think we went a little too fast. A little bit of background about me, besides the fact that I'm a little insane and just kind of go after things. So my name is Brianna Embry Banks. I just graduated from York College of Pennsylvania with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Thank you. I'm currently getting a master's degree at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County in diversity, equity, inclusion, and leadership. I am also the founder and CEO of Owning My Blackness / Owning My Blackness Consulting, as well as a 2021 recipient of the Mid-Atlantic Association of College and Housing Officers Commitment to Social Justice Award winner. You can go to the next page. So I'm sure you're wondering by now, what is Owning My Blackness, also known as OMB? So not to confuse you a little bit, there's two main parts to this. So one that currently serves as an organization, which I'm in the process of turning into a nonprofit, that works as a as a mentorship network between K through 12 and higher education, where we work to educate, advocate, and elevate for Black students. Basically what that means is we try to teach them about Black history, that there's more to us than just slavery and the things we experience today, that there's meaning behind a lot of things that we do, as well as navigating them through that education system, as I said before, because a lot of students of color also want to go down that advocacy route. I want to make sure they have someone to support them through it. And then finally, that elevation piece, making sure they feel comfortable within their own skin, within the community around them. That's kind of our message for the entire organization as a whole. On the other end, which we're focusing on today, is that for-profit proportion, which is Owning My Blackness Consulting, that works with schools and educators to help reduce systematic racism within education. Now, the big thing between systematic racism and kind of like the racism you probably think of, like one person that calls me the N-word is the difference. It's like that story I told you before, things that are set up within the system that'll stop me that prevents, such as racism, like that email chain that I mentioned before, the rumors of me wanting to do a protest. That's very different than some single person coming to me. Systematic racism is there's no one person, there's no one department, there's an entire system and networking working against me. You can go to the next one. So addressing the problem within education, because that's really what I focus on. I don't know if we could do a show of hands. How many of us have ever heard of the racial achievement gap and the racial disciplinary gap? Oh, great. Quite a few learners. Those who have no idea what I'm talking about, the racial achievement gap basically says that when you compare GPA scores, SAT rates, and graduation rates between Black and white students is most of the comparison, but any race of students, Black students fall behind in every category, no matter what race of students you compare them to. It also says in the disciplinary actions, when we say suspensions, detentions, expulsions, that Black students are more likely than any other race of students to be subjected to these disciplinary actions. And you're wondering, this does not mean that black students are less educated, that they're stupid, that they're more ill-behaved. Basically, when we look back in history, we are still seeing the repercussions from things like slavery, things like desegregation and segregation, and I do mean both. Brown versus Board of Education put a lot of black educators out of schools, which is a problem we still see today, which then adds into relatability to the content. We add into things like still dealing with poverty within our communities, not having the funding, resources, transportation to go to those after-school programs, that tutoring, that lack of things. So all of those kind of add into those racial achievement gap, racial disciplinary gaps. There's a few examples. There's much more that goes into it. But that's a little bit about our problem. If you could go to the next one. And the problem is, which is why I focus on education, is I really believe in that history route, really digging through the core of the problem. In today's society, we realize that this idea of systematic racism, the problem is schools is the starting point for every other sector in society, that we also see this idea of systematic racism. For those who don't know, I have a picture of the healthcare system there. Black women are the #1 demographic of women to die during childbirth. Not a surprise when we look on how we started in education, those points I said before. You also see these same trends within criminal justice, that black people make up more than the majority of those incarcerated when you compare their proportions in the society. And they are also more likely to be found guilty of crimes, despite lack of evidence. If you know anything about CJ, any other CJ majors, we don't have enough time to get into that. But you see it in all sectors of society, which is why I really focus on education to address that core root of it. The next part. I always like to show this just for funsies, so you get an idea of who I'm really doing all this for. And at the end of the day, it's really for the kids. Go to the next slide. So my target audience that I'm working with is essentially, I aim to work with schools or educators, but I will work with anyone who works with students. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of small businesses that work with students. I want to make sure that we all make sure that we are not harming our students in the process. So what I personally do is, like I said, Owning My Blackness Consulting, I do diversity trainings, speaking events where I go and address the problem like I did today, kind of raise awareness, as well as consulting on practices and policies. The big issue I'm having, especially since I just launched in January, is finding a way to make these networking, these connections I'm into more business, more opportunities for myself. So if you guys have any idea of how I can possibly reach more of my target network, because what I'm finding is I am reaching a good amount of people, but not much within the sector I'm trying to look for. So that is the question that I pitched to you all today.
Check, check. All right. First question from Ms. Amajo.
My suggestion would be, if you haven't done it already, to just put together a capability statement to kind of recap all the work that you've already done, and look at the bigger companies and send it to either like the HR manager, procurement managers, and there's also like a local chapter of SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Professionals, and usually they're the ones that are scheduling the trainings for the organizations. So maybe reaching out to those contacts.
That's a good one. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah, Brianna, if your target audience is, or target customer is the schools, because it sounds like you want to impact systemic racism in the schools, start with a circle of your peers. For example, I'll throw Richard out. Richard has a burgeoning relationship with the city of Harrisburg, superintendent, and then I've got relationships with Camp Hill in Cumberland County, and so I think maybe just starting with groups like this and asking, is there anybody who could help me get in with the folks that I want to reach? Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
I would look on. I probably don't do this at Talk Club.
For the online.
Oh, so sorry, online people. I would look on LinkedIn for groups. So there's a lot of groups on LinkedIn for people that are in the same profession, professional groups that you're able to join, especially if you have something to offer for them. and just kind of break in and talk a little bit about, identifying really clearly what their problem is and making sure that you can say it back to them in words that are familiar to them. So even talking to a couple people maybe that you have worked with, talking to a few prospects to understand like what is your pain, like what really is the challenge that you're trying to overcome, and then speak it back to them in your value proposition so that you're solving that problem for them, and they'll tell each other because you'll have so much value to add that they'll help you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I have an idea that you can talk to like counselors. So a lot of time that they are actually talking to the kids and found the problem. So maybe you can learn something that from them and maybe reach to find another channel. And also maybe you can targeting like the clubs, like some of the school has a clubs, so you maybe can find there as another channel.
I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Thanks. It's not totally related to your actual question, but I would love to hear a little bit about how the financials of your for-profit piece, how you're envisioning that to work, right? Because I think like you're right on target with this work, right? I come from a nonprofit sector where we see a lot of our counterparts. There's a lot of DEIA officers being appointed and directors being hired into locations just in the last, obviously 3 years. And we're starting to understand now the value of those things, right? Like this kind of training, what you're talking about has a value. Like it's your knowledge base that you have is really valuable, especially right now. And I think organizations are starting to see that, and I don't know where schools are, right, in how they understand the value of what you have to offer. And so it might be that it needs to be it could be part of, I don't know. Have you thought about putting that as part of your like nonprofit? Because I would think there's more grant funding to fund you giving this educational component than there would be money from a school to pay you to come in, just because we're not I would love that if we were at that point, but I don't think we're quite at the point where the school's going to be like, here's, I don't know, $10,000 for a contract to do this work. Does any of what you've thought of any of that?
Yes, to answer both parts of your question. So with the idea of like pricing in a sense, I love that you brought that up because of course as small businesses there's many issues we face. That is a big one, trying to price it at the value that I'm worth, but also enough to know that I'm still a startup, not a lot of people know what I'm doing yet, to get track record. Because even with Owning My Blackness, from that first Blackout for Black Lives event, within the 3 years we were running, I took it from that event to then a multi-institutional organization. So that means we had it at the college, and we also had baby branches at local high schools. And at the same time, I was speaking at conferences at the state and national level, and then eventually at the regional level as well. So I've been doing this work about professionally for like 3 years, I could say, quote unquote, even though I've been like studying and interested in racism, politics, criminal justice, education for years before that, just sitting on research or whatever. So I've a lot of experience and such. Even as I was getting Owning My Blackness built, I was going out to schools, already helping schools rewrite policies and also doing trainings, but I was doing them for free. And I was getting very much burnt out, especially also running an organization in multiple schools at one time. And then also, like I said, I was still a student. So a lot of that systematic racism I was trying to fight for other students, I was still facing myself. So there was a lot of things layering at the same time. And the reason I decided to separate them into that for-profit and nonprofit proportion is because I didn't want what I did with the kids to ever turn into like money-hungry type of base. And it was very much did feel separate. Like when I would go out and do that work with the schools, even though it's connected under the same umbrella, which is why I kept it as the same brand, it was still separate sectors. So that's kind of why I have them separated between the nonprofit and for-profit proportion, if that makes sense. And then for your other question, no, you're fine. For, like I said, the pricing, at the moment, the prices I came up with, I did a lot of research in nationwide and also locally, people who do very similar things where they're priced at, and then kind of wanted the lower end of that because I am still trying to get my name out there. As a professional, I feel like the audience I'm trying to reach doesn't know exactly what I'm doing yet. So until I can get more of a base underneath me, I'm trying to keep it on that low balling end. Does that answer your questions? Yeah, so right now, as well as doing networking events, like I said, I'm still speaking at conferences, and I do those for free right now. It's more of a just to push my name out there to educators. So I'm pending right now for another regional conference, I should know by end of July, and also a national conference. I should know by the end of summer as well, for the fall and winter that's upcoming. So fingers crossed for that. Right. That's what I'm also thinking. That's also what I'm trying to get out of, like, more paid opportunities, because I feel like that's hard. A lot of people will have me come in for free and like, oh, you really know what you're talking about. But as soon as I'm like, yeah, you got to pay me, all of a sudden it's like, should I?
Hi, thanks for your presentation. You may want to consider looking at other existing organizations that share your target market. So, for example, places like the intermediate units, they offer trainings to schools. So potentially, if you were able to partner with an intermediate unit, you may be able to utilize that existing relationship, and they can help kind of get you into the schools. Also, there's another organization called PATAN. They also do training for schools and for teachers as well. So just leveraging some of those existing organizations' relationships may be able to help you get where you're getting in front of some of the customers that you're looking to outreach to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't think of that.
Hey, also wanted to say, if you're, especially since you are doing nonprofit as well, look into the United Way. Become a chamber member because because of the connections that they both have. Because, like Jamal said, if you partner with another organization, that helps too. I come from nonprofit sector, and we've partnered with other organizations to help implement a particular program. You can get funding through grants like that as well, and then schools also. Especially when you're trying to get into the school. So with the United Way in Carlisle, I can't speak for everywhere, but the United Way in Carlisle, the Carlisle School District really participates with a lot of things, and so they have that connection with them. So they could also connect you to the people that you would need to talk to. Now, if you start looking to do it in Carlisle, let me know, because I can connect you to some of the people at the school district too. We've had them on our board before, but maybe think about going that avenue as well. Because chamber members, United Way, agencies, there's a lot of them that are listed, and you can connect with any one of those.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Just to build on that, Community Foundation, I know the Community Foundation in Lancaster has an AHA grant program. You do not even have to be a nonprofit to actually apply for it. But since you are a nonprofit, they're looking for really interesting projects that can help kids, help the community, and it would all be grant funding. So community foundations within, I don't know how robust the Harrisburg one is, but I'm assuming it is, would be a great avenue, I think, for this business.
Thank you. Also something great to look into.
All right, who's next?
I forgot one thing. So I work at a giant just to help them as a consultant for diversity. Maybe something corporation like a B2B, you remarketing yourself as a company that care about diversity and make a rights, for minorities. And you actually, as a consultant, to go to different of companies and who hire you, that make you feel like, or make the employee feel like that they actually care about minorities.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just want to encourage you. I think your plan to have a nonprofit and a for-profit is right on point. I believe that for-profits are just another word for sustainability. If you're not making money, you're not sustainable. So kudos on that. What I heard you ask was, how can you crack the market, particularly education, and particularly in the for-profit space? Is that right? I would really encourage you to cut your teeth on grant writing. If you're able to bring in resources for schools, they'll hire you in a second. And you can also write yourself into the grant. So quickly you can become more of a professional grant writer. It's an incredibly practical and powerful skill to actually pursue some of the creative things that you'd like to do. If there's no current money out there, just make it. So happy to talk more about that. You would definitely need a mentor, someone with their doctorate to kind of be a PI, like a primary investigator. But you could potentially manage it, liaison the relationships, and it could be powerful.
Thank you. Something else great to think about.
Thank you, friend. Hello, I'm Kamika. I am the Vice President of Young Professionals of Color, Greater Harrisburg, and I would like to invite you to partner with us on several initiatives that I think your business would be excellent for. We have a great track record of working with different businesses on diversity initiatives in the community. We cannot handle all the requests that we get. Our membership structure is that for professional organizations that want to be a part of YPOC, that they have to undergo DEI training. So this could be something that we could definitely be like, listen, in order for you to be a full-fledged corporate member of YPOC, we would love to pass you off to our, have you partner with our one of our trusted partners, right, and get this training. So, and I think what pulled me, sorry I was late, thank you for taking my question, even though I was, but as I was coming through the door, I heard you say, since 2020, we've been doing the things. Yes. In 2020, or when everything exploded, I think that more of us should be more networked from that time because we started so many initiatives, and there are only a few that remain since then who have powered through not just the uprisings, but through the pandemic, through a near recession. Who knows, we might be still going into one, I don't know. Through some very difficult times in business, and those are the kinds of organizations I think that will go the distance. And to what Chad said, hi Chad, you were right on the money with the for-profit, nonprofit piece. A lot of successful organizations in our region have done that model. So invite you to partner, become a member of YPOC, obviously a plug. And we have our membership structure is such that, especially for corporate members, for predominantly white institutions and organizations, we want them to, one, make space for their employees of color, and then two, be more adept at diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and belonging issues.
Yes, I would love to schedule a time to reconnect with you about that, for one. It's funny because I was actually having a meeting with someone else this weekend about young professionals of color, so I just love kind of how, yes. So I kind of love how everything just intertwines, and I also love what you said about like DEI is like a hot thing in 2020, and only a few survived. Because I feel like a lot of people don't realize like how much comes into it. Like you mentioned before, like not only just the regular stuff of running a business, but it was also like me personally, just bullet points. Like I had funding removed, I had my name dragged through the mud, people dragging the name of my business alone. Yes, my grades changed because of different platforms, like the absolute most. So it definitely takes a certain kind of strength to do this sector of work.
All right. Any other help for our presenter? Going once, going twice. Thank you, Brianna.
Thank you. Also, if you didn't get a business card from the front, they also have this, but if you scan the QR code, you get the information for both the organization and the business.
Presentation words, wow. So, yeah, thank you. That was really, really enlightening, and I love the variety of presentations we get here at Keystone Merge. It's not just a tech event. Obviously, it's human services, it runs the gamut. So thank you for presenting tonight. And again, a big thank you to our partners, the Next Gen Innovation Committee, for providing funding to make this happen, which really just means paying for the food. And a whole lot more than that, too. Also, if you know any entrepreneurs that would like to present, send them toward Alexa or Chelsea or Helen. We have a hand raised, so I think you might have one of next month's presenters already in the room. You can also send them to KeystoneMerge.com if they're not presently in this room. Next month, we will see you August 3rd at the Candy Factory. And also, please eat. There's so much food left. You guys, we have foil. We have plastic bags. We'll send you home with dinner. Your partners, your kids will love you for it. Please take food to go. Thank you for coming.